Welcome back to another episode of 5 Star Wrestling Reviews. This is episode 4. We didn't get to record last week because sometimes we get a little bit busy with life. But that's okay. That just means now that we've got more. I mean, there's so much wrestling, but we've got almost 2 weeks worth of wrestling to talk about. So TJ was just telling me that he watched the Cody Rhodes documentary on Peacock yesterday, I assume. So yep. I have not seen this. I'm curious to know okay, maybe my first question is, does it mention AEW by name?
Yes, it does.
Okay, well then
Cody does not shy away talking about AEW, calling it AEW. There's footage from BTE, so being the elite on there. Wow. I mean, they have access. It's on YouTube, so it's not like it does.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
The main other talent they showed was the Young Bucks. They didn't really show Kenny. They showed Cody and the Bucks together. The crazy thing is they worded as Cody went off and Cody and a crew started a company. So they're saying Cody was the centerpiece to AEW. Triple H refers to AEW. He doesn't refer to it by name. He's talking about Cody and the dream of being the WWE champion. And he goes, you grow up with the dream of being WWE champion, not the champion of a secondary promotion.
And that's what I figured he would say.
But they talk about how it happened, like coming back to WWE. There's one part where he's like, I don't want this edited at all, including this. Just don't even edit this part either, where I'm telling you not to edit. And he talks about, he says, I can't tell you why I left. It was due to a personal matter. But he says, I can tell you why I didn't. He said, it wasn't money. It wasn't creative. It wasn't because of other wrestlers. He said it was a personal issue.
What you're saying, when he left AEW to go to WWE?
Yep.
Personal issue.
Yeah.
But then he never revealed what it was?
No. Nope. He said he wouldn't tell it and he never would. He said it was just a personal issue. I partially feel like it's his personal issue that the fans did not see him as a good guy. He obviously did not want to fully turn heel. He goes to WWE and he is like the prodigal son. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I would consider that a personal issue, but I guess if it's your feelings, you can say whatever you want. I mean, and when I think of a personal issue, and obviously I have no idea. I think of someone like having drug problems or, problems in their home life or whatever. But I mean, I certainly hope nothing like that was happening. But if his personal issue was that the fans weren't cheering for him, that definitely makes him sound a little thin-skinned, in my opinion.
Yeah, so hopefully that's not it. That's just the first thing that came to my mind.
I mean, I remember when he left, he was going through that weird phase where he would come out and he would cut promos that were like 10 minutes long that didn't really fit with storylines. Like, remember the one where he was talking about how, like, I guess Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish had just come over and, like, they barely graduated hip toss class at NXT. I'm sure that was a while back. And, like, talking about how Brody King came in with a lot of balls to use the name Brody, which, I mean, I understand Brody Lee obviously was an important figure, but, I mean, Brody King he'd been using that name for a while. He had nothing. Yeah, that's – I think Brody was just so frustrated that –
It was pretty cool, though. They started going back to his childhood, showing everything, talking about his relationship with Dusty, showing that when he gave the Hall of Fame speech, like, how much pressure, because he had just started in OVW and all that stuff, but now he's having to go talk in front of everybody.
I'm sure he was scared as shit.
He said he rehearsed it, and that was the moment Vince is like, he's going to be something. And talk about, him coming up. Then he starts talking about, obviously, when the Stardust thing was happening, when he was tired of it, didn't want to do it, he would have a match. Then in Gorilla, he would take whiskey, pour it in a cup, and he'd put Gatorade on top of it.
Maybe his personal issue was that he was getting into drinking too much.
Who knows? And he was having to do all that crazy shit too. Remember that?
Yeah. Well, I remember like he went through the flaming table and all that stuff. There's all that stuff that just seemed totally unnecessary.
They go in detail about the pec injury, like his whole return, everything leading up. It ends with him losing to Roman, so that's how recent it was. It was overall, it was pretty good. It was just I did not expect to hear AEW name dropped. I didn't expect to see so much of the Bucks.
I wouldn't have expected to see them at all. I don't know what if you take a clip off of somebody's YouTube and you use it. I don't know what the copyright laws are like in that case. I mean,
and that's just because Cody's in it. Who knows?
I mean, I guess if Cody's in it, then maybe only one person involved has to give permission. I mean, it's not like they have the Bucks on camera talking. But when you said that there was a documentary on Cody on Peacock, my first thought was, well, do they even mention AEW? And I would have been surprised if you said that Cody did not. But I'm not surprised that other people just referred to it as a secondary promotion or whatever, which I guess technically it still is. It doesn't, not it's by not a lot, but
it's not as big as WWE. Granted.
Oh, no. It doesn't seem like it, but technically, I mean, WWE's worth what, like $10 billion. And so, I mean,
but they're still not bad for what, 3-4 years?
Yeah. I'll have to check that out. I haven't watched any of I think the last documentary I watched on Peacock was The Last Ride.
The China documentary is good.
When did that come out?
Like a year ago or a year and a half ago. And they talk about her drug issues they go through. Oh, it's actually really good.
I'm gonna have to check that out. I mean, they put out so many that I don't even know what's out there. Sometimes I just go and look and realize that there's documentaries about people, and I just turn it on while I'm working. But I don't.
Well, after we get done with this, Dark Side of the Ring is on tonight.
Oh yeah, and tonight it's on
Bash at the Beach 2000 with Vince.
Yes. Oh my God, I bet that is going to be so stupid.
With Jarrett and Hogan.
I'm assuming. I mean, there's no reason why they couldn't have. Because I saw a clip where they have Vince Russo and Eric Bischoff on it, obviously.
Yep.
I can't imagine why they wouldn't have Hogan or Jarrett on there unless they just didn't want to talk about it.
So that is going to be a must-watch for me. Another thing, because I want to see your reaction. You said you didn't see this. So Paul Heyman was on First Take on ESPN today. They're promoting SummerSlam. Him and Roman are there. And they're there with Stephen A. Smith, who I saw this thing, and I agree. He would actually be a good heel manager because Stephen, he can talk shit.
Yeah, he's annoying. Yeah.
But they asked him about like being the best, or they asked Roman like what it's like to be with one of the best, and Heyman's like, I'm the GOAT. Like I am the best. He's like he does all this. He's promoting Roman, biggest box office, biggest this. You think he would align himself with somebody other than the GOAT? And they say something about you say GOAT. What about Bobby Heenan?
Heyman, so wait, Heyman was saying that he was the greatest of all time as a manager.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And then they asked him, what about Bobby Heenan? His response was, screw him, he's dead.
Wow.
Live on air. Then he said he prays for Jimmy Hart's death.
What? Wow, I think I just lost some respect for Paul Heyman. That's pretty fucked up. I mean, Jimmy Hart, I can take him or leave him. I don't pray for anybody to die, but Bobby Heenan is the best manager of all time. I don't care what Paul Heyman says. He's nowhere near as good as Bobby Heenan.
Straight up said, screw him, he's dead.
And that's fucked up. I hope he has some backlash for that. I mean, he probably Paul Heyman is a very smart guy. He probably I don't think he would just randomly throw out a line like that without there being some I don't know what the possible reason could be for that. I mean, the dude's dead. He died of cancer tragically and suffered for like the last 10 years of his life. I mean, geez.
It's
no, I definitely miss that.
You need to go watch that clip. I mean,
I'm sure it's probably all over the place.
He straight face says it too. Like just no laugh, no, he doesn't break. Just
what do the other people say? Do they just kind of give that uncomfortable chuckle almost like
oh, okay.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I wonder how much of that is in character. I mean, obviously, he's always a heel. I would be surprised if.
I'm surprised ESPN like let that on.
I mean, I wonder how much is that live or is that even?
Yeah, that was live.
Yeah, I'm about to say they might not have had that on there if it wasn't live.
Well, all live programs have a delay.
Well, okay, you're right. Was it like a 7-second delay so they can bleep out cursing or accidental nudity or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to check that out. I mean, I love Paul Heyman, but I can't imagine. Now, I could understand why he might not care for Jimmy Hart because I could see in real life how Jimmy Hart might be really fucking annoying.
If he's anything like he played on TV.
Right. But Bobby Heenan was like, I don't know. I've never heard anybody even disrespect Bobby Heenan, much less say, fuck him, he's dead.
Yeah.
So. Unless they had, I mean, hell, think about it. When Heenan was on commentary, he was always in either WWF or WCW. He was never in the same company with Heyman at the same time, as far as I know. So, I mean, back during the late 90s, 2000, when we had WWF, ECW, and WCW, I mean, there may have been some legit, like, hard feelings between Heyman and Heenan. A million things could have happened. I wouldn't be surprised if he was just leaning into his heel character since.
But that was just.
That's pretty fucked up, I think.
That's an unexpected deal. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you told me that. I'm going to have to check that out because, again, I mean, I think we said it last time. There's so much. Like, I could literally take a week off from work and sit and try to catch up on all the wrestling, and I don't think I'd be able to. I mean,
nope.
I'm on night 5 of the G1, and I mean, I'll watch it all eventually, but it probably won't be until like a month after it's over because I'm watching through with no spoilers. I'm only like a quarter of the way through, and they're like over halfway done with the tournament. So,
that was some non-wrestling, like live wrestling show stuff that's happened the last week.
No, that's good because see, I don't usually seek stuff like that out unless you tell me about it. But then when you tell me about it, I will because I've got a recommendation from somebody who I trust. So I don't usually look for stuff like that. So I'm glad that you do see stuff like that and you bring it up because that's not.
I love seeing how they go like crossover stuff and all this other and the WWE documentaries, they normally do a good job. Like,
well, the people who put those together are extremely talented. So, I mean, I think when they do those, it's like as long as people like Vince and whoever get out of the way and just let them go back through the footage and do the documentary right, it always ends up good.
Yeah, so they did it real good. It was Brandy's talking on there too. Like, I mean, you got all that, but I like seeing the crossover. I like seeing the documentaries. I love like the Dark Side of the Rings.
So yeah, that's the other thing. I haven't watched a huge amount of Dark Side of the Ring. I watched the Adrian Adonis episode a couple of weeks ago, and I really enjoyed that just because. I mean, he died. I mean, geez, I was probably only like 3 or 4 when he died, but I mean, he was pretty important. I don't think a lot of people don't even remember him. Again, that was, WrestleMania 3, go back to that. And he had the Roddy Piper's retirement match or his first one. And then, 6 months later or something, got into a car crash and he was dead. I mean,
the Doink the Clown one was pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I did not see that. I listened to a review of it, but was that the one where his daughter was insinuating that he hadn't died of an overdose, but that he had been murdered or poisoned by his wife at the time? And she just straight up said that on camera and they didn't edit it out?
Correct.
Isn't that I mean, she could be right, but I mean, isn't that slander at the very least?
I would think so.
Accusing somebody of murder on national television?
Then you had the Abdullah the Butcher.
Yeah. Did you watch that one?
Yep.
So it went all into his hepatitis stuff and bleeding all over people and giving them the disease?
And I forget the wrestler it happened with.
It was the Canadian guy, the big dude.
Yeah. But basically,
I cannot think of his name, but I know who it is.
Abdullah, he bladed himself and then in turn used that same blade on him, and that's how he contracted the hepatitis.
Yeah,
and he sued him for a shit ton of money. But then they go into how Abdullah didn't make it. He didn't finish second grade, didn't know how to read and write. He would get this mail stuff. He never opened it, and he found out he lost a court case because he never showed up. He never read the letter.
Oh, he didn't even know how to read. Wow.
Then they did one last week on Bam Bam Bigelow.
I actually think I'm going to go back and watch that because I loved me some Bam Bam Bigelow, and I saw maybe like 5 minutes of it talking about when he was a bounty hunter and stuff like that. And he got put in a Mexican prison, and
he was a badass.
Oh no, he was a huge badass, but he was like a bounty hunter, and he went to Mexico with his partner to track down somebody, and his partner ended up getting murdered while they were doing it, and Bam Bam got caught, went in Mexican prison, and at least I don't know if this is true, but I know they were saying that he was so physically big and strong that, and it was probably like this really shitty, poorly put together prison. He literally could break through the walls, and like the judge or whoever it was that was constantly having to sentence like, mafia members and crazy people like that. He basically told Bam Bam that if Bam Bam would be like his security guard during these things, because dudes were constantly trying to jump over the table and like slash his throat or something, Bam Bam could do that, and he basically let him out. And it seemed like that was what happened, and he saved the guy's life like 10 times.
Taz is on there a lot talking. Who that's a real good one to have on there.
Yeah. I mean,
they talk about the famous incident. They didn't dive as much into the Japan like you would think, because he was probably Japan's where he was his biggest star.
I mean, he was IWGP World Champion briefly back in like 1990, 91 or something. After
they talk about his success, but they not as much as you would think. Because I mean, yeah, he had runs in WWE or WCW, ECW. Japan's where he made the name. Like that's where he really became that monster.
Yeah, I remember when he first. Well, I watched this on video. I wasn't watching at the time, but around like 87 when he first showed up and they linked him up with Hogan because they were like, this is going to be the next big baby face. He looked exactly like he did right before the dude looked like he was the same age for his whole life, right? He's one of those people where when he was like 25 years old, he looked like he was 45. And then when he was 50, he looked like he was 45. So
they talk about like how his style being that big and doing what he did, like led to pain pill, like led to these issues, and that's ultimately got him.
I mean, him and hundreds of others, unfortunately, but
yeah, you need to check that out. Dark Side. It's been good this season 4. I watch it every week.
I used to watch it every week, and then I forget which one it was. I watched one a year or two ago that was so depressing that I couldn't watch it for a while. I don't remember if it was like maybe the Benoit one or Owen or something, but
the Owen one was pretty rough. They made Vince look like the devil. I mean, when you counter sue Martha after what happened to Owen, that's pretty bad.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of people even realized that had happened.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Give her money.
Yeah. Hence why the Owen Hart Cup is on AEW and not WWE.
So now we can actually talk about in-ring wrestling.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of that too. Did you?
I've got to ask. My first thing I got to ask you, MJF and Adam Cole, because I've been like the biggest fan of this from that first video they did. They had me hooked then. What are your thoughts on it?
So at first I thought it was pretty hokey and a kind of a stupid way to force them to be together. And when the ultimate goal was going to be a match. And then, so they did a couple of weeks of videos. And I think it was the one where they were in the bar and Cole was doing a really bad job of acting like he was drunk, which I thought was funny. And then they were playing the video game and MJF was like, yeah, I didn't play video games because I didn't have any friends. that was probably the one where I was like, okay, this is getting kind of interesting. I also think, and this is such a small part of the storyline, but having Roderick Strong run in every time after they've left with that neck brace on, and he's just like, Adam, no! It's clearly like some kind of an inside joke that is hilarious. But so, right. So they went on, they beat Sammy and Daniel Garcia to win the blind eliminator thing, which honestly, that tournament seemed like it was over before it even started. And clearly the whole point of that tournament was just to pair them together.
Mm-hmm.
And a month ago, I probably would have said that is not going to work and that is stupid. I came
You
around.
did say that. You did say that.
I did say that. I'm about to say, I think we have it on camera. I came around to it. And then the next video, I guess they did where they double clotheslined the waiter because they said that he looked kind of like Sammy and then kind of like Garcia. I think about that time was when like, okay, I'm in. I'm down now. And then, I mean, so what? Last Collision, they had the title shot. The one before that, they actually won the tournament.
Yep.
They had the match with the dance-off, which I'm sure some people hated that. I didn't care.
To me, I mean, that was as sports entertainment as they've ever done. But what's funny is, and you can say it's biased, you can say whatever, but they did sports entertainment better than the sports entertainment company for me.
Oh, yeah, in most cases, certainly. So, obviously we both watched it. They won the tournament. They went and they had their match with FTR and they lost. I figured that either they were going to lose and then somebody was going to turn. I mean, I think obviously that was what people were thinking. Or they were actually going to win the belts, which I really didn't want to see. So I'm glad that they didn't. But obviously they played around with, I mean, what? MJF gets pinned. He's all mad at himself because he's lost the match. Cole's like, no, we both lost the match. FTR leaves, another awesome FTR match for what, like the fourth week in a row. I mean, they're the main stars of Collision right now, not Punk. And I'm not hating on Punk. It's just that FTR, they've been getting like 30 minutes to an hour on every show and just having killer matches.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Cole does a thing where he's turned away and MJF has the title and he's like, just hit me. And then, of course, the end result is that they hug it out. Now, I'm going to figure that when this storyline was originally planned out, if this past Saturday at Collision was the destination, I'm going to guess that was probably when it was planned for something to happen. I think, and obviously I have nothing to back this up, I think that this ended up catching on so good that they extended it.
You know what's a good indicator of that? T-shirt sales.
Are they selling an ass load of those?
Yes, they are.
Better than you Bebe shirts or whatever
yes,
they are? Well, I mean.
And they have a new one, a double clothesline shirt.
So, okay, the double clothesline is probably my favorite part of the whole thing because, in my opinion, if you're good enough of a storyteller in ring, or there's two people that are good enough of a storyteller in ring, that you can get the fans to absolutely go ape shit for the idea that you might be nailing a shitty double clothesline for like a month in a row to the point where when you finally hit it, it's like somebody just did like a 1400 flip through the air for the first time. Like, you got to have a lot of things. You got to have people that understand how the storytelling works. You got to have characters that people care about, because if they didn't give a shit, it wouldn't have made it past the first week. And then you got to have the people all in on it, as in MJF and Cole. And dude, I've never seen FTR get booed as much as they did during that match. I mean, MJF and Cole were the baby faces. Again, I was pretty sure they weren't going to win, but I mean, the crowd was genuinely sad when they lost.
So you bring up the double clothesline, getting that over. Think about this, because to me, this shows just how good MJF is. Think about in this time in AEW. He got over a headlock takeover. Yep. He got over a roll-up. He's now gotten over a double clothesline. This is not his first go-around getting some simplistic just written off move over and making a big deal about it, and it works. And so most guys get over some flip thing or something that's just impressive to see,
right?
But
some kind of spectacle of a move,
and they have to keep topping it because okay, I've seen that. Now what? I've seen that now. He's getting over stuff that's also safe. Like he could do that every night. And
well, dude, they got a 10 times bigger pop for the double clothesline than Vikingo would get for doing a double flip off the ropes through Omega on the table on the floor, which was a great spot, which I'm not hating on at all. But yeah,
it shows the art of storytelling. You get people, if you actually get people invested in the characters and invested in what's happening, you can get anything over at that point because they're not relying on the flips and the flashing and this. They're good, like their timing's good, all that's good. The matches flow. It's not like just a big rest match or anything. They're moving, they're working, yeah, but they're also doing moves that they can do
all every night if they needed to, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So to me, that's a hats off to MJF because it's not the first time.
No, and I would say that MJF should get the majority of the credit for that, but I don't want to forget about Adam Cole. I mean,
no, he's done great too. But
he's done great too, and I still think that they're going to have a title match.
Oh, MJF already told him before the tag match that win or lose, I'm giving you another shot.
So that makes me think if this storyline of them being friends or partners or whatever is extended, as it appears to have been, do they have the title match at All In between friends, and that's where something comes between them or whatever, or is something going to happen in the month between now and All In? Because they still haven't announced any matches for All In, which is slowly beginning to bother me.
Yeah, but I know that's bothering you, but it's
I know it doesn't, but listen, yeah, they don't have to sell any more tickets, so that's huge, but they still have to get people to buy the pay-per-view.
But don't you think people are going to buy it regardless? Because
I am, but
a lot of people are going to because you already know they're going to go balls to the wall because of having 75,000 people there. So you've seen what they've done with 5,000 people. Imagine what they're going to do with 75. I mean, to me, I don't have to know anything except for I know this thing's going to be loaded and it's going to be amazing because they're not going to do anything short of, because if they flop, they won't sell an arena or a stadium like this again.
Correct. Yeah.
So I think they're going all in for it,
So do you think they'll do Cole and MJF?
I can see it. But the other question is now with the Punk, with the bag. And as soon as I saw the spray paint, you know where my mind went.
NWO.
Yes.
Punk joined the NWO.
Notice which letter he put it over. There's only an X on the E.
Oh.
Not the A, not the W, only the E.
Interesting. So I'm sure that was on purpose.
So stick it to the E. Yeah, there was no paint on the A or the W.
I definitely did not pay that close enough attention to catch that. So, okay, so
it's kind of funny the things like we notice versus the other one.
No, which is why I'm glad we do this, because you're constantly pointing out little stuff that I haven't noticed. And so, right. So, okay, that was on Collision too. So here's a thought that I had earlier today was that for the last few weeks, I feel like Collision has been better than Dynamite.
Well,
not that Dynamite has been bad, but Collision has more been very focused on a lot of really strong in-ring work with FTR.
So did you hear about Punk leading a meeting with the guys at Collision about, like, it was a rally meeting. There was nothing wrong. It was basically trying to be like a locker room leader, like a rally meeting of, hey, there's things we can do to separate ourselves from Dynamite. We can make this show feel different than Dynamite.
And I think they have. I feel like they have. It's just, I mean, I don't ever watch Dynamite live anyway. I always watch it on DVR. So same for Collision. But, and again, I thought Dynamite this past week was good. I'm not crapping on it. I know we're all over the place, but what I was getting into was we were talking about All In and you brought up Punk. So obviously this whole real world champion thing is going to play out somehow. So my guess is at All In, we have 2 title matches. You got MJF versus Cole. I don't know. And then you got Punk versus, I mean, I would have almost said Ricky Starks, but I mean, they're doing that match next week. So I don't know if they're going to.
Which is surprising. I thought they'd save that for a pay-per-view because that would fill one of the 2.
Right. But I mean, I know Collision is still in that phase where they're trying to get as many viewers as possible to.
Hey, they popped a good number. This last one, 739 or something.
I thought the Saturday or the past Collision was awesome because, yeah, so Punk comes out. He does his stuff with Ricky Starks where I thought Ricky came off great.
He's gonna be much better now that he's a heel again.
And I think Punk clearly singled out Ricky as somebody he wanted to work with when he came back because Punk has leveled Ricky up to the next level because, I mean, not just because Ricky has pinned him twice, but the program just seems more important than when Ricky was feuding with Jericho. And that's nothing against Chris Jericho, but
I think a lot of it, like I know my interest was, is Punk going to do the job?
And he did, kind of.
That's where my interest was, is because making it the Owen final, are they going to go with the guy who's been an established star, or are they going to mix somebody? And to me, with AEW, you have to, most of the time, you don't know. Like you can flip a coin, you don't know what Tony's going to do.
Yeah.
So it had my interest, and I mean, damn, they went with the route of we're going to try to make somebody. I just hope they don't pull an action Andretti and go through a program and then down because he beat Jericho and then nothing.
Yeah, now he's doing 6-man tags on Ring of Honor weekly, and that's about it.
So I'm hoping that this is what gets Ricky to that point, but stays on that point because getting there is fine and dandy, but it's staying there that's what matters.
I feel like they've done a good job of getting him there. Obviously, whether or not he stays is, I mean, we're not going to know.
He needs to stay a heel. I know that much. I enjoy him much better as a heel.
No, I totally agree with that. So I mean, it's interesting because Punk's not exactly a babyface, but Ricky's definitely not playing a babyface, even though people were cheering Ricky more than Punk, it sounded like.
Because it sounds like a lot of people were still pissed off at Punk.
Yeah. So do they do Punk versus somebody at All In and MJF versus Cole, and then the winners face each other 2 weeks later at All Out in Chicago?
TK's got a hell of a decision, don't he?
Yeah. Does MJF beat Punk in Chicago again, or does Punk? I mean, I don't want to see Punk as a world champion. Just plain and simple. I mean, I keep going back to Jon Moxley's promo from the week before their match. You're fragile. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, he wasn't wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not to hate on Punk, the dude's in his mid-40s and he's had a lot of injuries, so only so much you can do about that. But I feel if Punk was back and they had the title put on him almost exactly a year to the date from everything.
All Out.
Yeah, I mean, literally, it would be All Out to All Out. I would feel like I don't like the message that sends, that
you can do whatever and be rewarded.
Yeah, that makes me think too much of like Hulk Hogan and WCW.
Yep, I see it. I do think it's a good sign that Punk was the one who led that rallying meeting.
Yeah, I didn't hear about that at all.
Just because it wasn't because there were issues. He's like, let's make this show different. Like, let's basically try to do better than Dynamite, because a lot of those guys on Collision are Collision only guys.
Right, which is one of the reasons that I'm enjoying it, because it does seem like there's a very defined set of people on Dynamite and there's a very defined set of people on Collision. And if you keep that going for a year, well, then once those people eventually intermingle with each other, it'll seem like a big deal.
Well, and
never mind the fact that if Punk does anything with the Elite, it's going to be a big deal anyway.
Well, they've done it smart because they didn't announce a brand split. They didn't do all that bullshit, right? Because if you do the brand split, but then someone crosses over, you get butchered online because, all right, what was the point? Like, just by unofficially doing it, but not having anything played out on TV, I think it was the smartest idea.
No, I agree. And I think that they have made it work really well. And I mean, it helps that the people that are the main people on Collision were people who were kind of either not around for a while or were very much background players that we wanted to see do more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the show is built around Punk, FTR, Jay White, and Juice Robinson. I mean, our first episode, I talked about Jay White and how I was unhappy, and now he's been fucking killing it for the last few weeks. Miro and Andrade. I mean, House of Black. Collision is, and I also noticed in Punk's promo, he was saying something and he called out AEW by name and then immediately corrected himself and said, no, Collision. Oh, he said a lot of stuff's going on in AEW. I'm sorry, I should say Collision. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's like an unofficial hard brand split.
I think it was genius to not publicly do one.
But because they didn't publicly do that, we got part of this past Collision was Darby shows up. Right?
Cole and MJF have been on Dynamite.
Oh, yeah, you're right. They've been back and forth. I mean, some people obviously are big enough that they're going to be on all. I mean, MJF and Cole is probably your main. I mean, do
you think they're the reason that they popped the rating?
I'm sure they're part of it.
I would say
they're probably the biggest part of it.
Because now that they've seen this number, it probably makes TK reconsider how long am I going to do this now? Like, if it's working and on Saturday night you got people to watch when they were going up against UFC pay-per-view.
Yeah.
That's saying something.
Next Saturday is going to be even worse. So
I think they're doing a good job of building the shows to seem important and seem good before college football season. Because this is it's the beginning of Collision, but it's also you have to sell people to watch this once football starts.
Yeah, you have to make a good impression now because there won't be anywhere near as many people watching in 2 months or 6 weeks or whatever it is.
So after the FTR match, after they went back, have you seen the pictures of where Punk is standing at the stage, like peeking his head out from the side to greet Dax and Cash?
No.
Yeah, it's like, so basically MJF and Cole are doing the thing that's out on Punk sticking his head out, like watching from the stage.
So wait, could you see him or you just saw a video after the fact?
I saw it afterwards. And I saw pictures online where Punk's got his head sticking out like he's watching from right there. Like see him, you could almost say watching MJF.
Interesting.
Little Easter eggs. I know you do know, like where we all know they like to plant their Easter eggs.
Oh yeah, that was probably on purpose. Yeah. I mean, we're definitely going to get a big Punk MJF match sometime in the near future. I hope that it isn't the end of MJF's title run. Let's put it that way.
Did you see the video of the post-show promo from MJF?
Was that this past Saturday where he
handed out pizza and all?
No.
Okay, yeah. So he went one full on 100% face. This was after they lost. And this is even AEW's Twitter, like everything, they put this up like post-show thing. And MJF cuts this promo about AEW. Like, we are AEW. Like, this is the best professional. Like, I mean, just very pro. Like, you've never heard
non-MJF kind of promo.
And he's just going, he's like, I'm here, like, basically saying, I'm here to make this place the best. Someone in the crowd, it was 2024. He goes, until 2024, we can talk about it then, but we're talking about right now. But he's playing like the ultimate company guy, like, and just going. Then he's handing out pizza to everybody in the front row, and like,
where the crowd did he get pizza from? I don't know. But they're just like boxes of pizza at ringside, and it was ready for him to start handing out.
I guess so, but yeah, they had boxes
delivered during the main event or something.
Making sure all the kids got it, like all this. But yeah, just very like, we are AEW. Like, this is the best professional wrestling on the planet. You've never heard him say one positive word about the company. Playing this field.
Was Cole in that promo too, or was he just kind of?
He was in the ring.
He was in the ring. Okay.
Mm-hmm. You need to check out that promo too.
Yeah, clearly there's a lot of little things that I didn't see over the last week that I need to go and check out.
Andrade and Buddy freaking tried to kill each other.
Dude, I'll be honest with you. I got kind of tired of ladder matches a while ago, but I enjoyed that match pretty good. I mean,
I watched that match with my father-in-law, my brother-in-law, because we were up at her parents. I was like, look, 7:00, I'm watching my goddamn TV.
And you're going to see some crazy shit. So,
and once the storm, because they got satellite up there, so when the storm passed, it came on. Andrade and Buddy are in the ladder match. First thing we see is Buddy's laid up on the ladder. Andrade's climbing on the outside. They're trying to figure out what's going on. And then they see Buddy get up. They're like, hold on, wait, shit, what's about to happen? They start getting into it. Then they see they see Andrade do that sunset power bomb, and he goes, oh, shit, he going to feel that tomorrow.
And then what? Yeah, well, that was early in the match where he did the moonsault and he had like no room to spare.
Not the moonsault. This was the sunset flip power.
Oh, okay. You're talking about where they literally bounced off the ladder like a couple of basketballs. Yeah, okay. Yep. I'm going to guess that they probably slept in the next day because they were hurting so bad, because that spot was a little bit scary. The one thing, I went back and watched it. The good thing was, if you watch really closely, Buddy Matthews, he tucks his neck really good. So, like, I don't think his head even hit the ladder, which is a miracle.
It was funny watching them two start to get into it a bit.
Oh, because, I mean, they don't watch that often. So they're like, what kind of crazy shit is this?
Yeah, pretty much. And then, what was the other part? Oh, Andrade has now online challenged Malachi Black for All In.
So, I mean, I certainly think they'll have a singles match. That's the next step.
He went on Twitter and challenged him for All In, saying that you're from over the seas. So that's more your area. Like, so let's do this in your area at All In.
I mean, I think that's a very logical match to have on that show. So I would love to see that.
So between Punk being and he even said, I'm the first wrestler to mention All In.
Yeah, which at least they're mentioning that nobody's been talking about it.
And now Andrade, so they're starting to talking about it more.
I saw something else, and I thought this. I don't know if you saw this or not, but I guess Jeff Jarrett is over in the UK doing a lot of like publicity and stuff.
Isn't he their event coordinator?
I think he is. So that's probably why. And so he was over there on like a radio show promoting it with Grado. You remember him?
Mm-hmm.
And like during this radio show, Grado, I mean, obviously this was an angle, but Grado, it was like they worked their own angle. Grado has nothing to do with AEW as far as I know. But basically they ended up getting into it on the show, and Jarrett slapped him like it was Andy Kaufman or something. And then he busted him over the head with the guitar. So then my thought is, did they just do this on their own, or are we actually going to get a Jeff Jarrett versus Grado match at All In, which I think would be one of the dumbest things they could possibly do? I know Grado he's a British and he's a big baby face over there and stuff, but
they could be going for the local pop,
I guess. But yeah, I didn't see that, but I heard about it today. But I still think it's weird that they haven't announced any matches, but maybe that's just me.
I mean, like I said, I'm going to buy it either way. So I'm actually liking the mystery of it, because then you'd have nothing to have unlofty, unreal expectations, because you're just in the moment like, oh, shit, I'm getting this tonight. Wow, let's go.
That's true. I mean, I would be really shocked if they actually ended up not announcing anything before the show. Like, I know you brought up the mystery vortex idea. Like, I mean, they could do anything, but I feel like if you're going to do that, you want to do that at somewhere other than your biggest show of all time.
It builds intrigue, anticipation. I mean, it's you can flip it either way. I like the idea personally, because like I said, it keeps you more on the edge of your seat, because you just don't know who's going to be next, who's going against who. You could think you know, but then you see this. And like I said, for me, I feel like we would enjoy it more as the fan, because we wouldn't have played out all these scenarios in our head. We wouldn't have done this.
We wouldn't have expectations already built up.
We wouldn't have fantasy booked already that this guy's going to win, then this is next. It's just, oh, shit. Enjoy it.
Yeah. I did think it was weird that on Collision, Punk, so he's talking about, I'm the first person to talk about All In, and he said, I don't have a match for All In, but maybe we'll know more about that by the end of the night. And they never came back to it.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. And MJF was the one in the ring at the end against FTR, Punk's boys. So, unless they just didn't want to speed up the storyline so much, Punk's talking about being the real world champion while the guy who's the real world champion is there. It's not like he is only on Dynamite and he's not there to – it just seemed odd that MJF didn't seem to have anything to say about that. I know he had a big match and they had a whole nother angle going and stuff, but –
What's your opinion on MJF taking the pin?
Is Dax going to get a title shot?
Surprised, huh?
I was surprised, but
he's been protected. He's been very protected.
Oh, they even said that it was the first time he had been pinned in
300 days or something.
Yeah, roughly a year or something like that. I thought it made sense because I think that once somebody does turn, I almost have a feeling that it's going to be Cole that turns instead of MJF.
They've
hinted at both ways,
but they've struck. And I can see it because this MJF face stuff, they've struck gold because here's the thing. They try to make people faces. MJF can talk. And he could play a gray area where he could still be a little smart ass and do the eye poke and all this stuff.
Well, he was getting a huge reaction for saying he was going to stomp Dax Harwood's nuts in. That's...
Yeah, it's one of those, he may want to be a heel all he wants, but it's getting harder and harder for people to not cheer him. And I kind of like the idea of Cole turning because it's not who you would expect it to be.
And Cole's a lot better as a heel than a babyface.
And we're seeing MJF is just good either way.
I'd say he can go either way. I'd still be very curious because, of course, this is going to happen eventually. When MJF goes full on legit babyface, I'll be interested to see if it gets old or if it actually works really well. Because I think he's so good that it'll probably end up working.
I think it'll work well because he'll still do some of the heel mannerisms.
You can't just completely change, especially when you're somebody with that distinct of a style or whatever you want to say.
Think about
all of a sudden he was kissing people's ass, he'd get booed out of the building.
Well, think about it. Put it this way: when Eddie Guerrero was a face, the lie, cheat, and steal. So he got the lie, cheat, and steal, and he got cheered.
I know it's a good comparison. So yeah, that So, okay, here's my question. If MJF goes full on babyface, because I don't count what they're doing right now as full on babyface because we're just waiting for somebody to turn or whatever. But if he goes where it's clear that he's a babyface and they're running with it, does he lose the belt before that or after that as a babyface to another heel?
I think it depends on his contract. At the end of the year, that's going to be what I think is going to be the deciding factor for everything.
Yeah, I don't see him leaving, but I'm sure he's going to get an enormous offer that he's going to have to think really hard about whether or not he wants to take it or not.
Whether he wants to keep being able to say and do whatever he wants or be a watered down version.
I'm pretty sure he's already making top dollar as it is, though I would imagine he's going to get offered millions upon millions of dollars to go to WWE, which
he's earned it. He's put himself in.
I wouldn't hold it against him if he went. Hey, make your money when you can. You can't wrestle forever. So
it's just going to be a very, very watered down version. And I don't see him getting the same treatment that Cody's gotten because I think at some point, if a bigger name like that switches, the old Vince is going to come out of, I'm just going to bury you because you came from the competition.
It's possible, yeah. I think that would be really, really stupid if they did that, but they've done way worse. So
I'm going to say they've done a lot worse.
Yeah.
Okay. Having Sting lose his one and only WrestleMania because you're wanting to make it about DX and NWO and the Monday Night Wars.
Yeah, that was awful, but
yeah,
that's just one of many examples. So
that was a more recent one I could think of, a glaring coming from the competitor.
Yeah, I guess I'll worry about MJF going to WWE once we actually get to that point. I would be surprised.
I did see the rumors online that apparently WWE does not feel like they're going to get the Elite and Hangman. That apparently the word is that they're pretty sure they're going to stay in AEW.
Good. Because I'm sure they would have gotten major contracts too. But if I just seeing Kenny Omega outside of AEW or in WWE period it wouldn't seem right.
Again, I would be worried of what they would do with him.
I'm sure they would stick it to him somehow. Even if they were going to try to make money with him at some point, I'm sure they would do something backhanded.
He wouldn't get the AJ Styles treatment.
No. Even though he should, he wouldn't. I mean,
he should get more than. I love AJ. You know how I feel about him. And hey, great for him and everything that's happened. Outside of WWE, Kenny's a bigger star than AJ ever was outside.
Most definitely, yeah.
But I don't think he gets the AJ treatment.
Yeah, and I just don't think he goes at all. But you're right. I think if he goes, he's going to get a big contract. He's going to make a lot of money. He's going to have some great matches, but I don't think he's going to be pushed as a top guy.
The Bucks will be in an awful tag division. And then I see them at one point trying to make them split and go brother versus brother just to try to stick it because they've said they'd never do it. Because think of how many tag teams they do that with. And the New Day and the Usos may be the exceptions.
I mean,
the Usos had some stuff before, but so the New Day may be the exception.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times, Matt and Jeff Hardy breaking up, that didn't work out very well. So
having a Mania match, Edge and Christian worked out pretty good.
Well, yeah, they were really. I thought of them more as singles guys before they teamed up to begin with. So
then, when they broke the Dudleys up, it wasn't near as good.
No, well, when they broke them up, Devon basically retired. So
sometimes it's worked. Obviously, with Sean and Marty, that worked out great for Sean. Not so much for Marty.
No, but you can blame Marty for a lot of that. He probably would have gotten to stick around for a while if he hadn't had so many issues.
I just don't trust him to not do that, and I wouldn't trust what they would do with Hangman. Because here's the thing: a lot of his stuff, the beer drinking cowboy. Well, okay, you're going on a PG show, you're not going to be a beer drinking cowboy no more.
The beer drinking angst millennial cowboy.
The milk drinking rancher.
Oh, geez. That would be.
He couldn't use his rope stuff because all of it, half the time, it looks like a noose.
On purpose.
So there goes all that out the window. They sure as hell ain't going to be able to say hung bucks on TV.
No.
I just think it's so watered down, and I just don't see it. At the same time, I saw where apparently Cody said him and the Bucks talk more now than ever.
Maybe they were just too interconnected in AEW to the point where they just couldn't get along, and now that they've got some space between, they are like, well, we were friends, so
maybe it was just a difference in styles because Cody was a very WWE system type of person.
I'm sure.
And they show All In, like the lead up to it, and like him working the set, working all this. So it's a very they even say it's like watching Dusty. Like DDP says it's like watching Dusty. And the Bucks were more of you could call it the freelance, we're going to do it the opposite way.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, both ways, when done correctly, work. But no, they are completely different. You're right.
I got something else for you. I know we've been all over the place, but it is what it is. I saw where Kota Ibushi talked about his performance in Blood and Guts.
And what, he didn't care for it, did he?
He said it's 100% his fault. He should have known better. He did not know that there was going to be tacks and glass in the ring. He said his shoes, he wears really, really thin wrestling boots. And so when he stepped in, he had glass and tacks go in the middle of his shoe. So every time he stepped, it was digging into his foot. He said that's why it looked like he was moving in slow motion, because every time he stepped, there was excruciating pain.
I assumed that because he's only worked like 3 matches in the last 2 years. I just thought that maybe he wasn't in ring shape. But, I mean, hell, if he's walking around on glass and tacks, then I don't blame the guy.
The very thin boots. He said every step hurt.
I'm sure.
So that was an interesting take because I didn't think much of his performance at Blood and Guts.
Well, I didn't feel like he didn't really do that much. I mean,
but now he said I just couldn't.
No, hey, if that's the case, and it's like I totally get it. I mean, they never gave a graphic for him, so I would be. I couldn't.
He said he actually had to use a cane after like the next day, like walking because his foot hurt so bad.
I mean, if you got glass and shit all stuck in your feet, then I could. I mean, I've gotten glass in my foot before, but not then had to work 15 minutes running around on my feet.
Yeah, but then this dumbass after the match goes and just takes a back bump into the pile of tacks and just stands up. Just stands up and just like, I mean, pretty much just went crazy Coda on it, you know?
Yeah.
Josh, here.
Shut up.
But because he didn't have any tacks in his back. But then after the match, he just takes a back bump into the pile of tacks just because.
He just felt like making up for it.
But yeah, that was an interesting takeaway that I saw too.
So is Coda, I mean, have you heard anything along the lines of, is he going to, I almost feel like he's like semi-retired.
Yeah, a lot. That shoulder really screwed him up.
I mean, it was 2 years ago, and I was reading stuff a few months ago where he talks about he still can't lift the same with that side that he could before. I mean, you could tell when he came out that he wasn't the normal, like shredded to the bone Kota Ibushi. I mean, he still looked great. He looked way better than I ever would, but I mean, he just didn't look like what I was expecting. And I guess
same here.
I mean, when you're not wrestling a regular schedule, then
I did think it was a good ending for the Elite and the BCC. One spot from Blood and Guts that was crazy to me was whichever Jackson it was that was on top of the cage pouring the thumbtacks from the top of the roof into the ring. Had not seen that done.
I would say I didn't see which one of them it was.
But yeah, I had the bag and poured it from the top and just straight down into the ring. Again, to me, that was a creative way to use the tags instead of just, ooh, I have a bag. Let me just empty it out.
Put it in a nice little square here so but somebody can land on it.
Nope.
No, they just had the stuff strewn all throughout the ring. So that's why Kota, everywhere he stepped, there was probably nowhere safe for him to step. And that was, yeah, that sounds horrible, man. That sounds poor Kota.
So kind of, I guess you could say, switch gears a little bit about WWE. We have SummerSlam coming up.
I'm looking forward to SummerSlam for the most part.
I want to see this. I want to see this Roman and Jay.
So what is a tribal warfare match?
It means nobody blood related can get involved.
But that's it?
So it's like no rules. That means like Sola, others like nobody who is blood can get involved. The kicker is blood. So what if?
Yeah. Let's say so. What Paul Heyman can get involved with no problem, or
I got one for you. With KO being legitimately hurt right now, Sammy has a history. He's not blood. He can get involved. That's a great way to expose the loophole in it that he was
have
part
Sammy
of
cost Roman the match, and then him and. Well, I mean, do you think that Jey Uso is going to beat Roman for the world title? I don't.
I mean, if Roman has any, and at this point, I guarantee you, Roman.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
You know, he'll put over family.
Right. I'm sure if it was up to Roman, he would have no problem with it whatsoever. I just would be shocked. I don't think Roman's going to lose the belt until a WrestleMania. I think it's going to be next year, and he's going to lose it to Cody. That's my opinion.
Yep. It's going to be curious to see how they get Cody there because, I mean, I think what's going to have to happen is the Royal Rumble winner's going to have to challenge Seth, and then it leaves Roman without a challenger, and then Cody wins the Elimination Chamber to go face Roman at Mania. There you go. I just played it out for you.
No, I mean, I think that actually would be very logical. I mean, so the matches at SummerSlam are what? We got Roman and Jay. We got Brock and Cody. What is that, like a street fight or some kind of
no idea.
Got to be finishing off their feud.
It's a fight. Let's go with that.
Okay. We got Logan Paul and Ricochet.
You got Seth and Finn. Which that one's pretty ironic because now they're fighting for a belt at SummerSlam, which is where Seth injured Finn for the Universal title.
Oh, yeah, cool. No, and they played that up as the storyline, which I think is I think it was very smart, and they've actually done a really good job. That face-to-face sit-down interview that they did maybe like 2 weeks ago that got pretty intense, I thought that was really good. I watched that.
I know we got those. Those are, there's other matches on there, but those are the big ones.
Well, I heard that Becky and Trish got bumped over to Raw. Like, that would have been one of the biggest matches on SummerSlam. I don't understand why they would do that.
Put it in Raw in Canada.
I mean, I guess that makes sense, but it's just not the same as being.
I got a feeling they're not happy about getting bumped from what's been known as one of the big four.
Yeah, really.
That's a lot of story work just to all of a sudden, oh, no, you're going to be on Raw.
Yeah, instead of like the second biggest or maybe the third biggest show of the year.
Isn't it Asuka, Charlotte, and Bianca?
I think so. I may need to look that up. I don't want to. I believe that is the case. And then there was also, because I know there's only 8 matches, because after they bumped Becky and Trish, because I know I'd been hearing people talk about like, oh God, there's going to be like 10 or 12 matches. And no, it's clearly Hunter likes to book his more normal sized cards instead of, I mean, I'm glad we're not getting 15 match shows anymore or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or 7-hour WrestleManias.
I feel like we just kind of, dang it. I feel like we've just kind of like scratched the surface of what's happened the last couple of weeks.
That's because we really have. That's why I say there's so much shit that is going on. So one other thing that I wanted to talk about, because I feel like this person has really leveled up lately and like in a big way. And he's gotten a lot of TV time, is Darby. I know I mentioned this to you a little bit, and it started with it started before the Nick Wayne stuff, but the interviews about Nick Wayne just made you think like, dang, Darby is clearly, if nothing else, he's a good person. I mean,
it's like after the Pillars storyline,
everybody had to reset.
It's like once that ended, it's almost like he just had a breath of fresh air, like fucking finally, because he's even said he hates the Pillar thing.
I loved. So what? This was not this past Collision, but the one before that, where they had the Darby and Punk versus whatever it was. Was it?
I know what you're talking.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And Christian and somebody I can't remember. But when Darby came out talking about.
No, it's Christian and Ricky.
Right. Okay, Christian and Ricky. When Darby came out, when Punk was in the ring, and Darby was like talking about how his friends were his AEW ride or dies who would never do anything to AEW, and then he went up and he hugged Punk, and like literally he couldn't help but laugh. Like he's like, especially my good friend CM Punk, and like they both just laughed. Like
he seems much more comfortable on the microphone.
That's the main thing I was getting at. Ever since the Nick Wayne stuff, it's like he comes out and instead of trying to portray this like dark, quiet goth character, he just talks like he's his normal self, and it actually works because we know that he's fucking crazy. He doesn't have to pretend. We know that he's tough as nails. He doesn't have to pretend. He's one of the smaller guys out there, but he's absolutely nuts. On Collision, he had the match with Minoru Suzuki, which I couldn't imagine two people who were more different, and I really enjoyed that match.
That's the other match that my father-in-law and brother-in-law watched too.
Were they like, what the hell is this?
They were trying to figure out what was like pretty much really how is Darby gonna how's that? Then the first thing you see is he interrupts his entrance and just fucking bullet out the ring, and they're like, what the fuck was that?
I loved it when Darby was willing to trade shots with Suzuki, and he would be like, bring it. And every time Suzuki would give him one, Darby would just like collapse into a heap. Like he was ready to take it. And I have no doubt that really did hurt to the point where he just was like, I'm just going to give in and show how much this really hurt.
So I think as much as I did not like the Pillars build and how all that was going, if what we get out of that is a more comfortable Darby on the microphone,
then that's a win.
100% worth it. And we also, out of that, we got the Jungle Boy turn. So the Jack Perry turn. We have no more Jungle Boy. That's a win.
Yeah, I'm not sold on.
Sammy's the one that's kind of taking the back seat, but he's also got a baby on the way, so he's probably not too upset.
Yeah, he'll be fine. I mean,
but it's I think Jack, the heel turn, and everything with that, it was long overdue because Jungle Boy was only going to happen for so long. I actually like the Beethoven music because it's just
I like that too. I don't.
It's 100%
great, but
it's 100% opposite of the Jungle Boy thing.
Yeah.
He's still got work to do on the microphone, but at least now he seems
getting there.
He seems more comfortable now than as the face. He's just got I would say the delivery of it, but he does seem more comfortable. But yeah, Darby, MJF came out of that Pillars thing champ. MJF's done his thing, but we got a more confident Darby. I think him having spent that much time with an MJF in the ring talking elevated him.
Clearly, he got more comfortable because even just a couple of months ago, if he was talking, he just looked like he was unsure of what he was saying. And now he comes out like last week on Dynamite, he got AR Fox a title shot at Orange Cassidy. Orange wins. Of course, we don't need to say anything else about Orange's title reign. It's been awesome.
I've enjoyed
it immensely.
I've seen some people online talking about how they haven't enjoyed it. I'm like,
why?
The hell? What are you watching?
Yeah, clearly you got good matches, good character.
He's still running
storyline building where he's slowly falling apart to where when he loses the belt, it's going to make perfect sense.
And let it be against somebody like Miro.
And he's one of the biggest baby faces in the company. Easily. And this title reign has brought him to that point.
I don't understand why people would not like it.
I honestly haven't seen that, but I mean, there's always people out there who.
Dinosaurs Inside and Out Season 1, Episode 2.
But yeah, like I said, if we got that more confident Darby on the mic, then that whole Pillars thing that I wasn't a fan of, 100% worth it because that's gonna do nothing but. I mean, Darby's young; he's got a long time in this. Well, hopefully, if he stops,
hopefully,
almost killing himself nightly. Somebody's going to have to talk to him. The freaking Hardy brothers need to talk to him of like, dude, we get it. But
Jeff needs to go show him some of like his x-rays or something of what his back currently looks like and be like, look, you don't want to end up like this.
Same thing with Matt. Matt can just tell him, dude, look how I walk.
Or how I barely walk. I mean, he more shuffles.
So
Darby. So what? He's feuding with Swerve, AR Fox, Christian, Luchasaurus. I mean, who is he not feuding with? I mean, believe me, the more Darby on TV right now, the better. I'm not complaining at all. But
half the time you feel like you're about to witness a murder because somebody's going to snap him in half.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm loving the progression of Darby. Definitely looking forward to see how this new confident Darby, how it can go as a mentor figure for Nick Wayne on TV.
Right, which I assume is going to be like I could see Darby having a match with Swerve at All In, or maybe even doing like Darby and Nick Wayne and Sting versus Swerve and I don't know,
AR
Fox and Brian Cage or something like that. I'm just thinking of people that are in the
embassy deal,
the Mogul Embassy, or I'm not sure what it's called. I'm not a huge fan of that stable, but I mean, I like Swerve and AR Fox.
Makes sense.
Up with AR Fox, I thought was good. I mean, he had a good match with Orange. He lost. He got frustrated, and Darby was pissed. I mean, I thought that was great acting job. Darby coming out and meeting him halfway, not even on the ramp. He's like beside the ramp, just yelling at him. Basically just like browbeat him. Like, I can't completely say that AR Fox wasn't a little bit justified in going after him at the end of the night because he got
embarrassed. Like he got
embarrassed. Yeah, he basically talked down to him on TV after he had just lost. So I understand why the guy was embarrassed and upset, and he made a split-second poor choice or whatever you want to say by smacking around Darby, and then clearly Swerve and Prince Nana got to him in the back, and by the end of the show, AR Fox and Darby aren't friends anymore. But
AR Fox is good.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed watching his matches. It's entertaining. He's
extremely athletic. I mean, the fact that he hasn't broken his neck a million times already from all the matches I saw of him in PWG, where he would just let people drop him right on his head. Like he's like Gumby. He's kind of like Darby. He's like a bigger, blacker version of Darby who is and older. I mean, obviously,
yep.
You wouldn't know it, but the guy, I think he's pretty sure he's close to 40, but
you got me, because that video where Darby's talking about that whole situation, like that was their vignettes have been great lately.
Dude, you're right. I mean, for the longest time, I always heard that AEW, they didn't do a lot of vignettes because they said that like viewership would drop during them. But I mean, you got to do some, and yeah, the ones they've been doing lately, like, have been awesome.
Mm-hmm. So
I mean, hell, even I think I texted you about this. This was probably on Dynamite when they did the FTR cut a promo on MJF and Cole, and MJF and Cole cut a promo on FTR, and they were back to back, and they were both incredible because they were completely different. I mean, MJF basically did like a Rock promo where he made fun of him and talked shit about him and talked about he was going to smash his nuts in and all that stuff. And what did he call Dax? He said, "I'm tired of your Mr. Clean, Yosemite Sam looking ass," or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then he even said something about his family. And then, of course, on the other side, Dax is going off and he's like, "And if you mention my family, I'll rip your fucking eyeball out." It's like great ending to the promo. I was like, that made me want to watch that match. And I honestly think that promo probably was one of the reasons that Collision popped a better number. I mean, it made me more interested to watch it, and I was going to watch it anyway, but it made me more into it than I was beforehand.
Well, that whole, we've talked about it, the whole blind eliminator, it could have been chicken shit, but it turned to chicken salad. They got something big out of this. They've sold a lot of t-shirts out of this.
Yeah.
They've gotten to do a new style of vignette. They dipped their hand more so in the sports entertainment side.
And it's been successful, I believe.
Yeah.
And people that don't normally like sports entertainment seem to have enjoyed it.
When it's done right, it's good. I mean, but the thing is, I think the difference between them and WWE is WWE tries to make their whole show sports entertainment, and the Bloodline is the exception because that seems more of like real stuff.
Obviously, that's great. I mean, nobody's going to.
But that's why it stands out more so because they're surrounded by sports entertainment, but then you have this one thing that seems more real.
Yeah.
There. Whereas in AEW, you have all this great match. You have this wrestling. Oh, here's one bit of sports entertainment. So it stands out. It's like, oh, that catches your attention. It's less is more. They're doing one thing, making it, because with AEW, you're going to get great match most of the time. You'll get some longer stories. You'll get all this, but not really that entertainment. Because I've been sitting on the couch laughing my ass off at all these things. And you really didn't have shows where you would sit back and laugh your ass off at AEW.
No, that's true. Usually it was more like you were holding on for dear life, watching a crazy show go by and trying to take it all in. But
so I think that's why it's been successful, because it's who's been involved with it. Obviously, Max does not care about making a fool of himself. Cole, go watch his PWG Ring of Honor. He don't care either. So having those two guys, but they're doing it, and it's standing out. But they understand how to do it to still capture the attention of who the AEW fan base is.
Right, because that's like, and I forget who said this, but it's sports entertainment that is actually entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like a Chris Jericho line. He might have said that, but
it seems it's a whole lot better than that whole sports entertainment group they were trying to do with the Jericho Appreciation Society.
Yeah, that seems like that's all but done. I am interested to see Jericho and Don Callis and how that goes. I hope they actually, and I think I probably said this last time, but I hope they do, speaking of Bobby Heenan at the very beginning of our show, I hope Callis does his full-on Bobby Heenan impersonation and has his own Don Callis family or whatever.
They're already calling it the family.
No, I know, but I'm saying I hope that he builds it up to the point where they're like the leading heel faction in AEW. And
to do that, they got to top the BCC, and well, good freaking luck.
Well, BCC are like somewhere in between in this weird.
Because Danielson will not be able to come back as a heel. Because when people find out you shattered your arm, had rods and like 9 screws put in, and you finished the match for 10 minutes like that.
And still had a good 10 minutes, not like they just struggled through.
People aren't going to boo you. They're going to respect you.
It's already hard for people to boo for Bryan Danielson. I mean, I don't know if I would be able to boo. If I was in the building, I don't think I could boo for Jon Moxley.
Nope.
I understand he's out there trying to do stuff to make himself look like an asshole, but I just can't boo Jon Moxley because
we also know his story too.
Right.
And it hits home with us.
Yes. And I mean, obviously the story with Danielson is not like that, but I can't boo him either. I mean,
but you go out there and, like I said, shatter your arm and finish 10 minutes more. Yeah, nobody's going to boo you. They're going to respect you for that. Because he could have easily been like, dude, I can't finish.
Or they could have been like, let's just go ahead and get to the finish or whatever it is, and the match would have just been shorter. But you know that Bryan Danielson wasn't going to do that. I mean, dude, he's fucking crazy. I mean, I guess that's the common denominator with pretty much most people that we enjoy watching.
Yeah. Well, we got a lot to watch this week too. Dark Side of the Ring is going to be a must for me tonight.
And that's Bash at the Beach 2000. So I'm going to make sure to watch that so that we can actually talk about it next week, and I can give my own opinions too.
That is the WCW shit show hour right there.
Oh, yeah. I'm just curious if they have Hogan on there or not. I bet that I'm going to say that I bet they don't.
How bad does he need the money?
Right. I doubt he does. So, I mean, he's down there running Hogan's Beach Shop doing
they at least asked him, and maybe when he heard, Russo's going to be on there because Russo's been on other dark sides too.
Well, I saw a clip where Russo was talking, so I already know that Russo and Bischoff are on it because I watched the preview for it. But Hogan was not on there.
It'd be, if I was Hogan, I'd want to at least get my side because Russo's going to bury him.
Of course.
Yeah, I'd want my side. Jarrett would be smart just to stay out because he's still like actively involved in the company, and they don't need the negative. But granted,
I'm surprised if Jarrett was on it and Hogan wasn't though.
I like those shows because there's no WWE involvement.
Yeah,
like they don't have to get.
They don't have an agenda.
Mm-hmm.
They're just.
Clearly, you just watch when they make Vince look like the devil. Clearly, they don't have an agenda like that. Yeah. Unless their agenda is, hey, let's just make Vince look bad.
I mean, okay, so we got Dark Side of the Ring.
You got to watch Cody.
I got to watch Cody. Dynamite 200 is tomorrow.
Cody is 2 hours, by the way.
Holy shit! Well, I will watch it. I'm gonna. If you're telling me it was that good, then I believe it's.
I enjoyed it. I mean, you're getting pictures of his childhood, his upbringing, like his whole life. You get Dusty in there and why certain things mattered. And
was Dustin in it?
Yeah, not talking. It showed him on the.
Let's say I don't know if they could have him on camera talking, but of course they can show.
They could have. They've gotten permission. They've used AEW talent on other stuff before.
Oh yeah, I guess Jericho did that. Yeah.
And then like when Cena had something, I forget what it was big that happened, but they did something for him, and you had Danielson and Jericho on that video about him or for him.
Right, and Jericho did the Stone Cold podcast only like 2 years ago.
Yep.
So,
but it was good. You get the whole, basically his whole life, and you get the whole, like all the iterations of him coming up to the Stardust, to the Leaving, to the AEW, to the New Japan, to all this, to the birth of the American Nightmare, how the American Nightmare actually happened, going on the indies. It shows like Evolve. It shows these other indies. That's the smallest. That's the smallest part of the documentary, though.
Of course.
But then it shows his return and shows the pec tear, the going through.
I mean, he's done a lot of stuff since he returned. It's not
then he lets the truth out where he said he lied through his teeth about the pec not hurting. He goes, that fucking hurt. It said it's hurt every day. I lied through my teeth.
Of course.
There's
no way that couldn't have hurt. I mean,
he's like, you would have had to kill me for me not to wrestle this match.
Yeah.
But he said
it worked out because if he hadn't done that match, I'm going to bet that he probably wouldn't have been main eventing WrestleMania 7 months later or whatever it was.
I think that earned a lot of respect from fans, and that's why they got behind him because, again, I mean, somebody's going to go out there and do that. It was stupid. But
not the stupidest thing he's ever done in the ring, but it was pretty stupid.
But it garnered a lot of respect from fans. So I thought it was a real good documentary. I enjoyed it. So you gotta make sure, but it's 2 hours.
No, I'm gonna check it out.
And then we got Dynamite 200.
Dynamite 200.
We got Collision.
We got Collision.
You got SummerSlam.
We got SummerSlam. Holy crap!
Which those are going on at the same time.
And of course, we got the G1 going on in the background this whole time that I'm trying to watch, but I'm getting through it somewhat slowly.
Then we got the post SummerSlam Raw, and then we're supposed to do Sundays. Yeah, never mind.
I would say well, unless something comes up like the last 2 weeks, then I assume.
But that's still a lot.
That's a lot. So here, my plan for the next 5 days or whatever it is
just to quit work and watch nothing but wrestling.
Yes. So that should be. I mean, that's only like a 45-minute show. That's not.
It's an hour with commercials.
And then Cody, SummerSlam, Dynamite, Collision. So what's that? Like about 14 hours worth of stuff I need to watch? No big deal.
You got some watching to do.
Plus, we're going to do our review on WrestleMania 6 before too long. I can't say exactly when. I know we both watched it. I mean, I've watched that show probably 200 times. And then after that, it's going to be Starrcade 97. So no lack of
a lot coming up.
No lack of stuff that we need to watch so that we could actually speak intelligently about it.
So, but I'm glad we spent a lot of time on non-in-ring because we really hadn't done that before.
Yeah, no, and I'm not good about paying attention to stuff like that. You're a lot better at keeping up with that, whereas I'll watch the shows and I'll give you my opinion on all that. I either don't realize there's other stuff out there or I just mean to look for it and then totally
get
sidetracked and something else happens. But
I like finding stuff like that, the different stuff. It's pretty you can learn a lot from it too, because sometimes they just reveal a lot.
Oh, I gotta find that Paul Heyman promo too.
Yeah. ESPN First Take. Whoo, screw him, he's dead.
That's gotta be a in character kind of thing. I mean
he's holding belts on his shoulder.
I know. That's what I'm saying. He's the manager of the biggest heel in the company that they've had in years and years and years. So of course he needs to come out there and act like Paul Heyman is probably someone who lives in character 99% of his life anyway. I picture him playing a character even like in front of his family. So
yep.
Not a comment I would have made, but whatever.
No. But
it's a free country.
Well, yeah, we definitely got some watching to do though.
Yeah, we got a lot of watching to do because today, full disclosure, it's August 1st. It's a Tuesday. Dynamite 200 is tomorrow. So yeah, we got we're gonna be getting back together next weekend to talk about all this shit. But Dynamite, Collision, SummerSlam, documentaries. I mean, I guess I'll watch some G1 in there somewhere. G1 ends in a couple of weeks, but for me, it probably is going to end in a couple of months. So I'm going to watch it all, but just not right away. But I'm trying to think. Was there anything else that had jumped out? I mean, I know we really only scratched the surface. There's a lot that's going on, but is there anything else big time?
We talked about the biggies from across because that's where, we just really just focused on the highlights of stuff and just focused on that. And there's a lot we skipped over and missed, but we focused on what stood out to us.
Yeah.
So I'm good with it.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I can't think of anything else. Everything I jotted down some very basic notes, and we already just the topics I wanted to cover, stuff like Darby, the ladder match, MJF and Cole stuff, obviously. But yeah, I'll be very interested to see. I'll be interested to see what happens over the next week. But I could say that about any week because I mean, we say it over and over again. We're completely spoiled by how much really good wrestling there is. I mean, think back to like 5 or 6 years ago. We could watch WWE pay-per-view, which usually sucked. We could watch a 3-hour Raw. We could watch SmackDown. You know, you could watch New Japan if you had access to it. But now it's like there's like 12 or 15 hours of network television, good wrestling like every week, basically.
Thank you, Tony Khan and the Elite.
Yeah, really. Well, and I mean, it helps that Raw and SmackDown are actually pretty good now, too.
And thank you, Cody, for leaving WWE because he was an integral part in all of this. Nobody can ever deny that. Especially because he had the knowledge of TV to make All In happen. The Bucks
I'm sure anybody in AEW would admit that. I mean, yeah,
it could not have happened without Cody because the Bucks and Kenny and those guys did not have the time of knowing about timing a pay-per-view, renting an arena, getting all this. His role was the businessman.
Yeah.
They had the connections to the talent they wanted. Cody had money to help fund it too.
I mean, think about it. Cody's got to be one of the most important figures in all of wrestling over the last 5 years when you factor in not only being one of the main people to help start up AEW, but now he's one of the top guys in WWE. I mean, I assume he's going to be a world champion sometime, at least in the next 12 months. So
unless AEW just really just blows up even more, and then it's like, fuck you, Cody, look what you did to us.
That's possible, I guess.
Like if, say, Seth's contract came up and Seth decided, I'm going to go make the jump.
I mean, I don't picture that happening, but that would be interesting.
That would, again, fuck you, Cody. Look what you did.
Yeah. Well, it's getting late. I think that's going to wrap it up for us. Thank you for watching. You know, if you liked it, hit the like button, subscribe. I think we might have like 10 subscribers by now. We got lots of people watching.
Hey, we're doing better.
Hey, I don't care. I enjoy doing it, so it doesn't matter. But
I enjoy doing it when we're actually able to.
Yes. And usually it's Sunday nights. Sometimes that works. The last 2 weeks it hasn't because today is Tuesday. But I'm glad we were able to finally get on here and discuss because, I mean, we could easily talk for like 5 hours over the last 2 weeks worth of stuff. But I think next Sunday, we're going to have a shit ton to talk about with
SummerSlam
and Dynamite special. You know, I assume Dynamite 200, I bet they're going to start announcing matches for All In. I know I keep coming back to that, but
I hope they don't. I hope
they do. I know what you want to see. I hope they start to I want to at least know what the main 2 or 3 matches are by this time next week. That's what I'm saying.
I hope they don't announce a damn.
I know you do. That's all right. Well, on that note, I think we're going to get out of here. It's getting late. I'm probably going to go to bed. But we will see you next week. And thank you for watching. And see you later.
See you.
Oh, wait, I hit the wrong button.